So, after a very successful night at the office for the UFC, for UFC No Che, we're back with another Matchmaker Monday. But unfortunately, this card was as good as it was, and as there was great finishes and it was banging, kind of things. There wasn't exactly name value, and if you know Matchmaker Monday, we base the name value very highly. So there's only going to be two talking points today, with a little bit of a third. I'll kind of talk about it with the fights because it kind of rolls in. Volk is going to roll in. This is kind of going to be a featherweight one. Obviously, we all know why, the featherweight main event, but listen, let's get into it. Diego Lopez versus Aljamain Sterling. Now I was kind of torn between this and Yair Rodriguez. Obviously, Yair versus Lopez had this massive build up. I genuinely thought it was going to be the fight to make. I thought it was the fight to make for the weekend, but we got an absolute scrap instead. And I want to say it now. As good as this fight was, I don't necessarily. A lot of MMA fans are like, "Oh yeah, Crawford sucked, man. You see that Lopez fight? Bro, if you actually understood what you were watching in the Crawford fight as regards this dude was moving up two weight classes and taking on one of the best of all time and just destroying him, you'd understand how good of a performance that was. And I enjoyed the Crawford fight personally. I enjoyed the whole, event. I enjoyed everything about it. I thought it was good. But it wasn't Diego Lopez, Gene Silva good. It just wasn't, bro. It just wasn't, bro. And if you're a boxing fan and that's your thing, too fucking bad. It's fucking bad. It must suck to be you, pal. Anyway, um, Aljamain Sterling versus Diego Lopez. Like I said, I was torn between this and Yair. I decided to pick Aljo because Aljo's more deserving. Simple as. And I think Diego Lopez now holds the Max Holloway um torch until Volkanovski gets rid of the belt, which probably will happen in the next year. Fuck. Fuck. I love Volk, bro. I saw this quote and I live by it. You don't need drugs. You need Volk. It's all you need in your life. And I live by it. I live by it now. But I feel like Aljamain Sterling beating Brian Ortega in kind of like a shutdown fashion really put him up there in the contention. Now, Sterling arguably beat Movsar Evloev, probably just lost to Movsar. You have Arnold Allen there as well. Arnold Allen is kind of like the missing piece to this puzzle, but this brother needs to fight. I don't know. He's the most underrated featherweight in the world. I've said it for fucking years, and not can I not just show you, but he didn't even show you because he's just not fighting enough. He's just injured all the time, which is frustrating because he's one of my dogs. And I can't wait to see him fight again. So maybe Yair versus Arnold's there. I think that makes sense. As regards Aljamain Sterling Lopez, Aljo beat Ortega, Lopez beat Silva. Aljo isn't exactly in a position, he's calling for the title shot. Lerone Murphy's barking. Lerone Murphy is barking at Aljo, which Lerone's been very quiet. Let's not, kind of let's not say Lerone Murphy earned the number one contender fight. Let's not say Lerone Murphy ran through the division and there was nobody else. Lerone Murphy got the good end of the stick. As regards, he got a really good finish at a really good time. Lerone Murphy beat someone in his UFC debut. Lerone Murphy doesn't exactly deserve the title shot. Now, does he deserve it over Diego Lopez? Yes. Does he deserve it over Aljamain Sterling? Yes. Does he deserve it over Yair Rodriguez? Fuck yes. But Lerone Murphy ain't done, an awful amount of work. Yes, he did well beating Edson Barboza. He did well beating Josh Emmett. But let's not act like Lerone ran through everybody. You know what I mean? Let's not act like Lerone ran through everybody and then he really scraped his way to the title shot. Now, like Leon or something like that, or someone that's just got there. Do you know what I mean? Lerone, bro, I get you barking. It's going to build a fight and stuff like that. But just calm down, okay? Aldo's just calling for the same thing as you, okay? It's crazy, but the actual matchup itself between Lopez versus Sterling, I think it's such a good matchup. It is actually fucking so exciting. Now, Aljamain Sterling's one of my favorite fighters ever. And I know that's extremely unpopular, extremely rare to hear that. But if you actually look at Aljo's life and just kind of the person he is, I fuck with Aljo heavy. You know what I mean? He never always just went out on his sleeve, and he always seems like an honest kind of a guy. And I always fucked with Aljo. I always loved Aljamain Sterling. Now when I know you can say, oh well, the knee, Jan, and I know you have a good point, but if you were in that situation Would you do that? And I know it's so easy to sit there and say, no, man, I'm a fucking warrior. But if there's millions on the line and it changes your life, odds are you're going to just fucking say, look, mate. And look, Aljo went on a tear. He beat Yan in the second fight. You know, he got millions from that. So I'm not hating, bro. I'm not hating. Now, do I think it was wrong for him to just like lie there and pretend he was unconscious? I mean, maybe a little, like, maybe just a little. Um, but I feel like Sterling versus Lopez would be a really good test to see where Diego Lopez's ability to get back to his feet is. Because Movzar was able to hold him down, and we saw the Movzar versus Aljo scrambles. That was up there with Sarukian versus Gamrot level scrambles. Like that was some of the best scrambles that you will see in the UFC. I fucking loved them scrambles. They were so good, and I think this would be just a class fight to see where both of them are at just in their career. Because Lopez seems to be the kind of guy where he's kind of waiting for Volk to leave now to get the belt. That's kind of where I'm thinking Diego Lopez is kind of at. He needs Volk to just leave the division so he can get the belt because he's going to have to put a lot of work in to get back there. And with the schooling that I predict Volkanovski to give Lerone Murphy, I don't think the UFC are going to be in a mad rush. Now, how many times are we going to see Volk in there? That's a different question. That's a different question. Volk's one loss away from retiring. Okay? Let's say he has a really close competitive fight with Lerone. It's only a matter of time then. Because a prime Volk would have absolutely 50-45 Lerone, not even made it competitive. Do you know what I mean? Like, he would not have made it competitive. Now Volk did extremely well against Lopez. He did extremely fucking well against Lopez. Like, he took some heavy shots. Now Volk's never had a granite chin. Volk's never had a granite chin. He got dropped by Makachev. He got knocked by Tapuria. He got knocked down by Holloway. Knocked down, okay, before anyone, I said him similarly. Knocked down by Holloway. You know, Chad Mendes dropped him as well. So let's not pretend Volk has an insane chin here and then Tapuria cracked it and now all of a sudden his chin is gone. You know, he did so well against Diego Lopez. I just fucking love that man so much. But Lopez versus Sterling, hard to pick against Diego Lopez on the feet in this fight. But if Aljamain Sterling can get him down, I feel like Aljo can do damage. I feel like Aljo can do damage. Not damage as regards physically, as regards ground and pound, but if Aljo can get his, the backpack, the 2021, 2022 Aljo that always got the back and always got the backpack, he can ride out the rounds against Lopez. And he's got a funky style on the feet to where he might be able to get in range and land. I'd still pick Lopez. But Aljo definitely has a chance in that fight. Now, if you heard me mention a name earlier on, I mentioned Yair Rodriguez, and I feel like he should be next for Gene Silva. Now, there is a post I saw. Let me get it up, actually, that describes about the next featherweights and kind of what their moves are moving forward. The featherweight division is in a really good spot. I feel like a lot of people are really enjoying it, and I feel like the fact that Volk is back on top just shows how good it is, and just shows how fucking peak the sport is now. Like, I know it sounds like I'm glazing Volk, but honestly, bro, if you're not a Volk fan, I don't know what you're doing. So the matchups were Lerone Murphy versus Volk, which I fuck with. Evloev versus Lopez too, which I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like Diego Lopez versus fucking Sterling's a good one. Sterling versus Yair and Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. Like I said, you can mix and match it any way you want. Mobstar is one of those people where I feel like that brother, like God even knows what that guy's gonna do. The amount of fights he's pulling out in, you've missed your title shot, in my opinion. Now they might still give him a title shot. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think so. But I think Gene Silva versus Yair is a great fight. I think that's a fucking banger fight, and that's what I'm gonna go with today. I feel like this would be such a fan friendly fight. Like if you had a Lopez versus Sterling, and then you had a Gene Silva versus Yair Rodriguez. Like that is a quality scrap. Now, who would win that? Gene Silva would piece up Yair Rodriguez. Simple, simple. Gene Silva would piece him up. He'd be able to land like Gene Silva was landing. I think Diego Lopez has a top three chin in MMA. Like his chin is fucking insane, and the way he was able to maneuver he was just fucking unbelievable. Like he was literally a zombie, bro. You know, in fucking um Call of the Dead. What was his name? George. You know the boss that you just if you kept my eventually he would go down, but you had to kill him. Like you had to get the Mustang and Sally's. Well, I can't remember the weapon for that, but That's Lopez. That's Diego Lopez, or the Warden in Mob of the Dead, but he was kind of easy to kill. That's Diego Lopez. This brother is not playing. Okay, he's got one of the best chins I have ever seen in MMA, and the dude is just a freak of fucking nature. The dude is just a freak of nature. He gets hit as well though, and that's where I think Arnold would be able to find range with Lopez. I feel like Arnold beats them all. Let's be honest. I'll be completely honest with you. Gene Silva would be quite a hard fight because Gene Silva lands. I feel like Gene Silva is probably a harder fight because he lands a bit more consistently. Now Arnold's never been dropped or anything. I know he kind of got dropped against Movzar, but it wasn't anything bad. And I feel like Yair would be able to find range against Gene Silva as well. I feel like Yair's kicks are very good. He had a textbook performance against Pitbull, but I'm putting no value into that because Pitbull's a Bellator fighter. Pitbull's a Bellator fighter. Aaron Pico was a Bellator fighter. Michael Chandler's a Bellator fighter. MVP's the only one doing very well, but MVP's yet to kind of run into the thing that he kind of did. Like Ian Gary turned into a wrestler real quick. Jack Cannonier's a striker. Shara Magomedov is a striker. Kevin Holland just doesn't know what he's doing. Ian Gary turned into a wrestler. If you look back at the second round of that fight, actually, like Ian Gary turned like MVP was just so much better than Ian Gary on the feet. It was actually ridiculous, but I'm not here to talk about that. The fucking range that Yair would be able to find with his kicks could be an issue for Gene Silva, and I would just love to see it. I feel like Silva's going to get in close, and he's going to land because I remember Josh Emmett landed a good bit, not a good bit, but Josh Emmett did have success against Yair Rodriguez, in the pocket in moments. That gives me confidence that Gene Silva will be able to. Do I see Gene Silva as a future champion? No. Um, I was a bit worried that he'd get to Volk and he'd be able to find the chin. I still think, I still think that Gene Silva is a harder fight for. Or Gene Silva is more likely to beat Volk than Lopez, but stylistically, I think they're both small. Volk does better against Ranger, kind of taller opponents, where he's able to get in and use his movement. But Gene Silva's going to be neck and neck, nose and nose, and he's gonna find you. He's gonna find shots, bro. That's what I was so worried about Volk for. I picked Gene Silva to beat Yair. I don't think Gene Silva beats Arnold. I don't think he beats Sterling. I don't think he beats Movzar. I think Aljamain Sterling and Arnold Allen are really the two guys people are sleeping on. I don't see their name being talked about enough. Aljamain Sterling is a former champion. Not even that long ago. Like he's actually the most I might make I'm gonna make a video tomorrow talking about how disrespected Aljamain is. I am because I'm fired up about it. Aljamain Sterling is the most disrespected fighter in the UFC. Like the dude is such a beast. I don't know. Everyone hates him as well. I don't know what the fucking story is, but yeah, I feel like I feel like Silva, you know, just maybe. But Gene Silva had moments, bro. It's just the fact that Diego Lopez has such a good chin that Gene Silva wasn't able to crack it. That's the only thing because Gene Silva has the package, but if you can't beat Diego Lopez, you aren't going to win the belt. That's the reality. And I feel like it would have been such a good build up him versus Volk. I like Gene Silva. Like some of the shit he does is kind of cringe, but a load of fighters are cringe. I like Diego Lopez, but mate, fucking sort that trim out. But that's all for today's Match Maker Monday. I'm gonna make a video on Aldo tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and thank you.